Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Peace be upon you all. I hope you had a lovely weekend. I had a fabulous weekend. So today, just want to talk about relationships with families and relatives, and how we can distinct the good ones from the not so good ones, but at the same time have a relationship with them, with the not so good ones. So I'll just start with first of all, this is again, this is from my own experience. Has nothing to do with scientific experiences or anything. This is my own experience. So for some people, family is in the unit, like, which is like blood relations, which is your husband, your wife, your children, your mom, your dad, your brothers and your sisters. For others, a family could be your uncle. I mean, like your own unit, and then your uncles, your aunties, your cousins, your nephews, your nieces, um, um, your grandparents, and so on and so on. So we'll just, for the sake of the argument, we'll make it quite simple. So we say family is your own unit, which is your husbands, your wives, your children, and then we'll say your parents and your siblings. Okay, and when it comes to relatives, let's say it's your cousins, your aunties, your uncles, your grandparents, and so nephews and nieces, we put them there, relatives. So every family have their own history. Every family have their own, you can say, disagreements, misunderstandings, issues, which haven't been dealt with properly, and this can lead to a lot of frictions within the unit, whether it's the family or the relative aspect. So how can we distinct the ones that we can get along with, and the ones that maybe we should not maybe get along with? So let's say from the beginning. So I mean, I think when it comes to blood relations, I think that it is important for us as human beings to continue having relations with them, continue contacting them, being with them, because they are part of us, we are part of them. So that's what I believe is very important to do. But it depends how this contact is, how consistent and how strong would that contact be. Depends on the other part. If you have, say, in let's say in your small unit, your family with husbands and wives and children involved, and you sometimes come to disagreements, and this maybe can lead to frictions. You as a person, now talk about you as a person, if you feel that this can escalate to other problems, then maybe you have to take a step back and maybe analyze why this is getting to an issue now, and maybe also let go of things. At the end of the day, you as a human being, you can't control people. Even if it's your children, you can't control them. Everyone have their own choices to make. I'm not talking about small children. I'm talking about when it comes to quite, grown up children or teenage children, your own children, because you have done your best, right? From the age they were small until You were quite old enough. You have done your best. The only thing you can do is now advise, if you feel that you can do that, and just hope for the best. And that, I think, when you do that, that will make your relationship with your own unit, your small unit, with your husbands, your wives, your children, quite calm and stable, and hopefully stronger. The more they will trust you, the more there will be more trust, will be more this communication with them. When it comes to your own parents, okay, that's also another thing, because this is to do with how you were brought up when you were a young child in your family, in your own family. If you feel that you were not being properly treated by parents, then you or anything else that you felt that you as a child didn't get the attention that you deserved from your parents, and every time you see them or every time you speak to them, that pops up in your mind because you haven't dealt with it, then maybe I think it's time for you to confront them about that, if they're ready to listen. If they're not ready to listen, then forgive them. Forgive them for all the things that you believe that they might have done towards you as a child, and might not make you feel comfortable enough to be with them. When you do forgive them, then you'll see them in a different light, and understand why they were like that way when you were younger. Maybe they didn't. Maybe no one showed them how to look after children the way that you have been taught now. So, and also will be a relief for you, a relief from all these anxieties which you had before you decided to forgive them. And your relationship with your parents will be much more calmer and nicer to be around them, nicer to feel that connection with them. The same with your grandparents. Same that there. If you felt that they didn't treat you well, then forgive them also. Grandparents. Not everyone have their own grandparents. I haven't seen my grandparents when I was young, and neither have my children seen my they haven't seen their great grandparents. So you're lucky to have your grandparents or even your great grandparents alive. So that's something you should treasure and be there for them, because they must be quite old, and many of them maybe don't even remember how they were when you were young. So I don't think it's even should be an issue for you to even think about how they were towards you when you were younger. So you can also let go of that. Now, maybe the other issue that could be sometimes come up is when you have problems with your siblings, your brothers, your sisters. Maybe they were jealous from you when you were younger, or maybe you're mistreated by your siblings. Here I think I think when it comes to siblings, it's always good to continue having contact with siblings, but I also think that it should be a boundaries when it comes to siblings. In boundaries and also respect, because now you are in a different you can say situation than you were younger. Now you're old enough, you're maybe married, you have children, so you're adults now. So that means you have to treat each other as adults and not as when you were young. And boundaries has to be set, respect has to be there. So this is where it comes with siblings. And also let the bygones be bygones, because you're all adults now and big. That's the same with your cousins. Same there. Boundaries and knowing when to, continue your communication with them, and when to maybe not be too much in contact with them. That's also very important, because sometimes when you're in too deep contact with your cousins, a lot of things can happen, a lot of misunderstandings. She said, he said, things like that. But if you try to make it quite platonic, like you call them in celebrations or different events that are happening, and you ask about the health and things like that, that can also help. The distance, have a bit of distance between you and your cousins. When it comes to your nephews and your nieces, I think that's also to do really now with the parents, because it could be one set or the other, because it could be your brother married to wife. That means you can't just come and say to your brother, you should maybe your child has to wear this thing this way or speak this way. You can't, because he has his wife and they have their own chores and routines which you can't really get into. So that's also about respect. And the same with your sister's children, because she has a husband, she has her own way of life. And mainly, the main thing I think when it comes to these families and relatives, it's about showing boundaries, where it's acceptable to speak to one another and how, and where it's not, and it's about respect. But also that you maintain these communications and know how much you should communicate and when to have this distance. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully next time I would like to speak more about how can we as parents have a good, healthy relationship with our children. So that will be our next topic for next time. Until then, I'll see you next time, inshallah, and you take care. Assalamu alaikum. God bless.